I swear my heart stopped when I saw it. There was a tiny stuffed elephant lying on the passenger seat of my wife's car. Not in the back, not hidden under the seat. Right there like someone had forgotten it in a hurry. The problem? Emma and I had spent 12 years together. We never had kids. We could not. I picked it up, turning it over in my hands. It was worn around one ear like it had been carried everywhere by a toddler. When Emma walked into the garage carrying grocery bags, she froze for half a second. Just half a second, but I noticed. "What's that?" I asked. She barely looked at it. "Oh, probably Melissa's. Melissa was her coworker, the one with the little boy." She nodded too quickly. "Yeah, she must have left it after I drove her home." I wanted to believe her. I really did. Instead, I asked, "When?" She frowned. "What do you mean? When did you drive her home?" She opened the refrigerator, pretending to organize groceries. "Last week." "Number, you worked from home all last week." Silence, not long, just long enough. Then she laughed. "You seriously keep track of my work schedule?" That answer bothered me more than if she would gotten angry. She had not corrected herself. She would change the subject. For the rest of dinner, she talked nonstop about random things, her neighbors, a movie she would watched, a sale at Costco, but every sentence felt rehearsed. Like she was filling every silence before I could ask another question. Around midnight, she fell asleep almost instantly. I could not. That stupid little elephant sat on my nightstand. I do not know why, maybe because something about it felt wrong. At 2:17 a.m., Emma's phone lit up. One message, no name, just a preview. "He keeps asking when you are coming back. I do not know what to tell him." I stared at the screen until it went dark again. I was not proud of what I did next. For years, Emma and I had never hidden our phones from each other. We knew each other's passcodes, shared locations, and never had a reason not to, at least. I thought we did not. I picked up her phone and entered the 6-digit code she would been using since forever. Wrong password. I frowned and tried it again. Wrong. My stomach tightened. She would changed it, quietly, without saying a word. I looked over at her. She was sleeping on her side, breathing slowly, completely unaware that my entire view of our marriage had just shifted. I could have woken her up. I almost did. Instead, I put the phone back exactly where I would found it. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe I was connecting dots that did not belong together. By morning, I would convince myself I was overreacting. Then breakfast happened. Emma came downstairs wearing one of my old college hoodies, smiling like nothing had happened. "You look terrible," she joked. "Could not sleep." "Not really. You worry too much." She poured herself coffee without even looking at me. I decided to test something. "So, how's Melissa's son?" Emma blinked. "What? The little boy, the one who left his elephant in your car?" She hesitated. "Oh, he's fine. How old is he now?" Another pause. "I do not know." 4. I nodded. "Funny." "What?" "I met Melissa at the company Christmas party." Emma's face lost its color. She told me she does not have kids. The room went completely silent. For the first time in 12 years, I watched my wife search desperately for a lie that had not been prepared in advance. Finally, she forced a laugh. "You must be thinking of someone else." Maybe I was, except I was not. An hour later, after she had left for work, I opened our laptop to distract myself. The browser was already open. At the top of the screen was a website neither of us had ever visited before. A family amusement park, 2 adult tickets, 1 child ticket, reserved for last Saturday. The same Saturday she would told me she was working overtime. I must have refreshed that reservation page 20 times. Maybe it was old, maybe it belonged to someone else, maybe no. Our home address was listed as the billing address. The last 4 digits of the payment card matched Emma's visa, and the reservation had been confirmed at 9:43 a.m. Saturday. She would texted me at 9:51. Running behind, my manager called an emergency meeting. "Do not wait up tonight." I remember replying, "Good luck, love you." I actually felt guilty for bothering her that day. Now I was staring at proof that she would spend it somewhere else. I grabbed my keys before I could talk myself out of it. The amusement park was only 40 minutes away. I did not expect to find anything. I just needed to see the place. The parking lot was mostly empty on a Tuesday morning. Families wandered past with strollers, balloons, and sleepy kids dragging stuffed animals behind them. That elephant, I could not stop seeing it. Inside the main office, I walked up to the customer service desk. The woman behind the counter smiled. "Can I help you?" "I know this is a weird question." She laughed. "We get plenty of weird questions. I think my wife accidentally booked tickets under the wrong email. Is there any way you could tell me if they were actually used?" She looked hesitant. "Probably should not. I do not need personal information." I slid the printed confirmation across the counter. "I just need to know if they checked in." She studied it for a moment, then typed something into her computer. "Yes." I felt my chest tight. All 3 tickets were scanned. "What time?" 10:58 a.m. So, 3 people came. She nodded. 2 adults and a little boy. I swallowed hard. "Do you happen to remember them?" She looked embarrassed. "I actually do." "Why?" She smiled. "The little boy would not let go of his elephant. He cried because he wanted to ride the carousel again." My fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. Did he? I stopped myself. She tilted her head. Did he what? Before I could answer, another employee walked out from the back carrying a stack of lost and found items. He looked at me, then at the reservation. Oh, his expression changed. I remember that family. Family, not couple. Not guests, family. And then he said the sentence that made my knees almost give out. I thought they were your wife and son. I do not remember leaving the amusement park. I remember sitting in my truck with both hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Your wife and son. The employee had not hesitated. He would said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I kept replaying those words until my phone buzzed. Emma. Hey, she said cheerfully. How's your day? I looked out the windshield, trying to steady my breathing. Fine. You sound tired. Long morning. You working late? That question hit differently now. No, a pause. Okay, I might. Of course you might. Big project. Yeah, her answer came too fast. I will probably be home around 9. I almost laughed. Instead, I said, love you. She hesitated. Love you too. The second the call ended, I started driving, not home, to her office. I was not planning to confront her. I just wanted to know if she would actually gone to work. Her company occupied the 4th floor of a modern office building downtown. I parked across the street and waited. At 4:53 p.m., employees began filtering out. At 5:10, Melissa walked outside. I recognized her immediately from the Christmas party. She climbed into her car alone and drove away. Emma never appeared. By 6 o'clock, almost every light inside the building had gone dark. I finally walked into the lobby. The security guard looked up from his desk. Can I help you? My wife forgot something at work. What company? I told him. He frowned. Oh, what? They all left early today. Early? He nodded. Team building event. When? Around 3. So, nobody's upstairs? Nope. I thanked him and walked back outside, feeling sick. Emma had not worked late. She had not even worked a full day. At exactly 6:27, my phone vibrated again. A banking notification. Normally, I ignored them. This one caught my eye because of the amount. 84.63, a restaurant charge. I recognized the place immediately, an Italian restaurant on the other side of town. Emma hated Italian food. She always joked that pasta was just expensive noodles. Yet somehow, she was eating there right now, and whatever she was doing, she would use our joint account to pay for it. I do not know what came over me. Maybe it was anger, maybe it was desperation, or maybe I was just tired of feeling like the only person in my marriage who did not know what was happening. I drove to the restaurant. It took me 18 minutes. I spent the entire drive telling myself I was not going inside. I would just look through the window. If Emma was not there, I would finally admit I would lost my mind. The hostess greeted me with a smile. Table for one? I almost said yes. Instead, I asked, could I use the restroom? She pointed toward the back. As I walked through the dining room, I scanned every table, couples, families, an elderly man eating alone. Then, I froze. Emma was sitting in a booth near the window. She was not laughing. She was not flirting. She was crying. Across from her sat a man about my age, maybe a little younger. His sleeves were rolled up and he looked exhausted. Between them sat a little boy, maybe 4 years old, quietly coloring on the paper placemat. The stuffed elephant rested beside his plate. The boy looked up. Mom. Emma wiped her eyes immediately. I'm okay, sweetheart. Sweetheart, my ears started ringing. The man reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand. She did not pull away. I ducked behind a pillar before anyone noticed me. My breathing became shallow. I should have walked in. I should have demanded answers. Instead, I stood there listening. The restaurant was quiet enough that fragments of their conversation drifted toward me. He deserves to know, the man said. I know. You have said that for months. I know. We cannot keep doing this. I said I know. The little boy flinched. Emma immediately softened. I am sorry, baby. The man leaned back in his chair and rubbed his forehead. We are running out of time. Time for what? Emma buried her face in her hands. I do not know how to destroy someone's life. I felt like I would been punched in the chest. Mine? Was she talking about mine? Just then, the little boy climbed off his chair, hugging the elephant against his chest. He wandered toward the hallway, toward me. When he looked up, his eyes locked onto mine. He smiled. Then he said the 5 words that turned my blood to ice. Mom, is that my dad? For a second, nobody moved. The little boy stood 3 feet away from me, clutching that worn-out elephant against his chest. His big brown eyes were fixed on mine. Mom, he repeated quietly, is that my dad? Emma turned so fast her chair nearly tipped over. The color drained from her face. She looked at me, then at the boy, then back at me. Oliver, she whispered. Come here. The boy frowned, but now. Her voice cracked. He slowly walked back toward the table, looking over his shoulder at me every few steps. The man sitting across from Emma finally noticed me. His expression was not guilty. It was not defensive. It was confused. He stood up. You must be Daniel. I stared at him. You know my name. He nodded once. I have wanted to meet you for a long time. Emma shot to her feet. No, she was shaking. Not here. The man ignored her. He took one slow step toward me. I am Ethan. I did not answer. I think we need to talk. I laughed, not because anything was funny, because I genuinely could not process what was happening. You have been sleeping with my wife. His eyebrows pulled together. What? My wife? I pointed at Emma. You have got a kid together. He looked at Emma, then back at me. She never told you. Told me what? Silence. Emma covered her face with both hands. Oh God. Ethan exhaled heavily as if he had been carrying something for years. I was not having an affair with your wife. Every instinct screamed that he was lying. Then he said something that made the entire restaurant disappear around me. I am her brother. I blinked. What? My half-brother. I looked at Emma. She could not even look at me anymore. I found her 2 years ago through a DNA website. Nothing made sense. If he's your brother. I pointed at Oliver. Then who is that? Ethan looked down at the little boy before answering. He's my son. I felt the room tilt, but my voice barely came out. Why did he just ask if I was his dad? Neither of them answered. Instead, Emma reached into her purse with trembling hands. She pulled out a thick, weathered envelope. It had been opened countless times. She placed it on the table between us. I have been trying to tell you the truth for almost 5 years. I looked down. Written across the front in faded handwriting were 6 words that changed everything. To my daughter after I am gone. I did not touch the envelope. I do not care what's in there, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Answer the question. Emma wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her sweater. Please. No, I pointed toward Oliver. Why did that little boy think I was his father? The restaurant had gone almost completely silent. A few people were pretending not to stare. Ethan gently pulled Oliver closer. Buddy, he said softly, why do not we go look at the fish tank by the front door? Oliver nodded and took Ethan's hand, still glancing back at me with innocent curiosity. The second they were out of earshot, I looked at Emma. I am done with the lies. She nodded slowly. I know, so start talking. She pushed the envelope toward me again. It starts there. I finally picked it up. The paper was brittle like it had been opened hundreds of times. Inside was a handwritten letter. The first few paragraphs meant nothing to me. It was written by Emma's mother. She apologized for keeping secrets. She talked about mistakes she could never undo. Then I reached the middle of the page. My eyes stopped moving. When I was 21, I had twins. I was forced to give one of them up for adoption. I kept you, Emma, and I lost your brother. I spent the rest of my life trying to find him. I looked up. Ethan. Emma nodded. My brother. I kept reading. The letter explained how their mother had searched for decades, only locating Ethan shortly before she died. She had written the letter because she knew Emma would eventually meet him. She begged her daughter not to waste any more years apart. I slowly lowered the pages. So, you have known him for 2 years. Emma nodded. And you have been hiding him from me. Tears streamed down her face. Yes. Why? She looked completely broken, because I knew exactly what it would look like. I laughed bitterly. You disappeared every weekend. I know. You lied about work. I know. I caught you holding his hand. He would just found out his wife had terminal cancer. That stopped me. Emma swallowed hard. She died 8 months later. Everything I would built in my head began to crack, but I looked toward the entrance where Ethan was kneeling beside Oliver, helping him feed fish through the glass. That still does not explain him. Emma closed her eyes. No, it does not. She took one long, shaky breath. Because Oliver is not the secret I have been hiding from you. My stomach dropped. The real secret. She looked me straight in the eyes for the first time all day. Is who his mother really was. I felt every muscle in my body tense. What do you mean? Emma looked down at her hands. I have rehearsed this conversation 1,000 times. Then stop rehearsing. I leaned forward. Just tell me. She nodded weakly. When Ethan finally found me, he was not alone. I glanced toward the front of the restaurant. Oliver was laughing as Ethan pretended one of the fish was chasing his finger. He brought his wife. Emma smiled through tears. Her name was Claire. There was something different about the way she said it, not romantic, grateful. She was incredible. I did not respond. Emma continued anyway. We became friends almost immediately. She knew Ethan had spent his whole life searching for family, so she welcomed me without hesitation. She paused. The first time I met Oliver, he was barely a year old. So you have known him almost his whole life? Yes, and I did not. No, the answer stung more than I expected. Claire got sick about 6 months after we met. Cancer, Emma nodded. Stage 4. I looked back toward Ethan. Suddenly, the exhaustion on his face made sense. During her treatments, I helped whenever I could. That's why you disappeared every weekend. Yes, you babysat. She nodded. I drove them to appointments. I cooked meals. Sometimes I would stay overnight because Ethan refused to leave Claire alone. I remembered every excuse she would ever given me, work conferences, late meetings, helping Melissa. Every single one had been a lie, but not the lie I would imagined. You still lied to me. I know. Her voice cracked. And I hate myself for it. I stared at her. Why? She laughed bitterly, because I pictured this exact moment. She gestured around the restaurant, you thinking I would build another family behind your back. You should have trusted me. I wanted to, so why did not you? Emma looked away. Because Claire made me promise. I frowned. What promise? Emma reached into her purse again. This time she pulled out a small photograph. 3 adults, 1 little boy, everyone smiling. Claire stood in the middle, impossibly thin but radiant. On the back, written in shaky handwriting, were the words, "If anything happens to me, please do not let Oliver grow up without knowing how much his mother loved him." Emma swallowed. I promised I would help Ethan raise him. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. But that's still not the biggest secret. My chest tightened. There's more, she nodded. A week before Claire died. Emma's voice almost disappeared. She told me something about you that I swore I would never repeat. She looked down at the photograph. I have broken every other promise. She met my eyes. I do not know if I can break that one too. I do not care about promises anymore. My voice came out colder than I intended. If this has anything to do with me, I deserve to hear it. Emma did not answer. She just stared at the photograph until Ethan returned with Oliver. He took one look at our faces and quietly sat down. Oliver climbed into the booth beside him, hugging his elephant. "Dad," he whispered, "are we leaving?" "Soon, buddy." He handed Oliver his phone. "How about your dinosaur game?" The little boy smiled and immediately forgot about the adults around him. Ethan looked at Emma. "You do not have to." She shook her head. "Yes, I do." Then she turned to me. "Do you remember the charity gala 6 years ago?" I frowned. "The hospital fundraiser. You met Claire that night." It took me a second. A blonde woman, short hair, bright smile. She would thank me for helping carry boxes after the event. "Yeah." Emma gave a small nod. "She recognized you immediately." "From where?" "College." I stared at her. "I never went to college with Claire." "No." Emma took a shaky breath. "You went with her older sister." A strange feeling settled in my chest. Older sister. I knew exactly who she meant. "Number," I whispered. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Her name was Rachel. My heartbeat became painfully loud. Rachel, my first serious girlfriend, the woman I would dated before I ever met Emma, the woman who had disappeared from my life after graduation because her family moved across the country. "Claire told me everything," Emma continued. "She said Rachel loved you until the day she died." I could not speak. I had not heard Rachel's name in over 15 years. "Claire only told me because she accidentally recognized your picture in our wedding album." I rubbed my forehead. "What does Rachel have to do with any of this?" Emma looked toward Oliver, then back at me. "Nothing." The answer surprised me. "She just wanted you to know." Emma swallowed. "That Rachel never stopped talking about you." I let out a slow breath. "So that's the secret?" Emma shook her head. "No." She reached into her purse one final time. This time she did not pull out a letter. She pulled out a small white envelope, medical laboratory. My name was written across the front. "I found this in Claire's things after she passed away." She slid it toward me. "It was addressed to you." I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a DNA test, not mine, Oliver's. Across the top, highlighted in bold, were the words, "Potential biological relatives identified." And underneath, my full name. I could not breathe. I read the page again. Then a third time, the words never changed. "Potential biological relative, Daniel Carter, probability 24/8. My hands started shaking. This has to be a mistake. Ethan slowly shook his head. "We thought so too." I looked at him. "You have known about this." He nodded. "Claire ordered the test about a month before she died." "Why?" He looked down at Oliver. "Because she wanted to learn more about my biological family. She was building a family tree for Oliver." Emma quietly added, "She used one of those ancestry kits." I stared at the report. My name should not be on this. It was not supposed to be. Ethan sighed. "When the results came back, Claire spent weeks trying to understand them. So explain them to me." Nobody answered. My voice rose. "Explain them." Emma finally reached across the table. "The test does not say you are Oliver's father." "I know what it says. It says you are a close biological relative." I looked at Ethan. "So?" He nodded slowly. There was only one explanation that made sense. He reached into his wallet and carefully removed an old, faded photograph. It showed 2 newborn babies wrapped in hospital blankets. One had a small blue ribbon tied around his wrist. The other had a green one. On the back was a handwritten date from 37 years ago. "My adoption paperwork was incomplete," Ethan said quietly. "It listed me as an only child." He slid another document across the table. "But after our mother died, I hired a private investigator." I unfolded the report. Halfway down the page, one sentence seemed to leap off the paper. "Hospital records from the night of delivery indicate a third infant may have been transferred under emergency circumstances. Documentation is incomplete." I frowned. "A third infant?" Emma nodded through tears. "Our mother did not have twins." She looked directly at me. "She gave birth to triplets." The room fell completely silent. Ethan swallowed hard. "We already found each other." He paused before asking the question that neither of them had been able to answer for years. But if the records are right, he looked me straight in the eyes. Why do you have the exact same birth date as us? That was 8 months ago. The affair I was certain had destroyed my marriage never existed. Instead, one forgotten stuffed elephant uncovered something none of us had imagined. A family that had been torn apart before we were old enough to remember. We are still waiting on court orders, sealed hospital records, and another round of DNA testing. As I write this, I still do not know whether Ethan is simply my brother-in-law, or whether he's been my brother all along. The story has come to an end. Share, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow.